Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to our second heat of the day. We've got a lot more Southeast Asian Boston Major Qualifier Dota coming your way. I'm LD. I'm joined here by Lyrical, Gabe, TnC versus RRQ. Neither of these teams really in a very safe position after day one, but neither entirely out of it yet. If you had to pick one, well, actually, RRQ may be a little bit close to being entirely out of it. 0-4. Still a slight chance, but they pretty much have to win out. As for TnC, 1-2. In okay position. I think they're probably one of the teams with a losing record to give the best chance to sneak into the top 4, but it's still not going to be easy.
No, definitely not. And this is one where you really need a win here for TnC, because you start to think about the other teams that they're going to be facing off against. They still have to play against Warriors Gaming Unity. They still have to play against sig.trust. They still have to play against Fnatic. Like, this is the lowest of the low as far as the teams that are still in it that they have to play against. RRQ, if they don't win here, it's looking really hard for them to actually advance. And I think that they have the pieces with which to do it. I did watch them play yesterday, and I have to say I wasn't super impressed. There was a couple of times where I felt like, this is maybe... Because, again, it's not the same TnC that we saw at TI6, but it still has a lot of the pieces that made that team strong. You got Cuckoo that's going to be playing the mid-role. You also have Sam H, an incredibly strong offlaner in his own right. And then they brought back Teehee, who was the original drafter for them, that really made that original team flourish. And, I think that they have the pieces to do it. It's just going to come down to, I think, one, drafting, it has to be solid, and two, execution. So we'll see how that works. I'm excited, and we do have the Warlock first pick, and then that followed up by the Shadow Demon Luna combination. So pretty good stuff right off the bat here, as we are going to be getting our way into the first round.
Yeah, and some really popular support picks snagged up here in that first phase. So the Ogre, the Shadow Demon for sure, possibly the Warlock, and unless it ends up being a core, which we always have to worry about with a lot of the teams in Southeast Asia. TnC banning the Meepo. I haven't seen too much RRQ. Do they really prioritize Meepo as a pick? I guess they must run it at least occasionally.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. I'm not entirely... I haven't seen RRQ run the Meepo myself, although I'm sure that they do if they're banning it out at this stage. But it probably is a little bit more of a niche, and of course in these best of ones anything can happen. A little bit of a quick fact trivia, RRQ, it's the Latin, they go the Na'Vi route, and theirs is King of Kings as opposed to... Isn't Na'Vi like destined to win or something?
Born to win.
Born to win.
Well, at least that's the translation that I've heard most often.
Okay, yeah. Well, RRQ, it's King of Kings.
That's
pretty
0-4. What kind of kings are we? We're talking about kings in the modern age, maybe, where their royalty is not really much of a thing, aside from the Queen of England. She keeps on hanging on. Stubborn old lady that she is.
Good old Ellie.
Good old Ellie.
I don't know what's her name. No, Victoria Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
All right.
Just keep on saying English-sounding names, Gabe. Eventually, you'll get it right.
Oh God, it's the worst. Well, ET is the other answer, and this year has been everywhere. The Shadow Demon Elder Titan combo was something we saw in the last game, and it didn't work super well, but that could also just be because Faceless is OP. What do you think about Elder Titan as a hero, and particularly in combination with Shadow Demon?
I mean, obviously, there's some natural synergy. They are both excellent at de-pushing. They amp up the damage of your teammates a ton, and you've got the disruption into stomp combo, which is cute and reasonably effective, though not super reliable. I think these are just really good heroes to back up the Luna pick more than anything. It is a very passive support duo. That's the one thing you worry about, and especially when you see an Ogre or Sand King, you do want some defensive heroes, but TnC will need that playmaker, and it's going to have to come from the offlane at this point. So, anything that jumps out at you that would be particularly impactful right now? Slardar's the go-to one if Batrider's already banned, but he also is removed.
Well, they're going to take the Tidehunter, and I'm thinking that I'm looking at the RQ draft, and it's really reminiscent of the way that Faceless played. Just, replace the Sand King there with the Tidehunter, and that's a draft that we've seen out of Faceless time and again. And the way that we've seen Southeast Asian run the Warlock Ogre is Warlock lane support just dominates. They need another really strong safe lane hero that can try and force this Tidehunter back, and then that allows your Ogre to go help out your Tinker, to go help out your Sand King. So I'd like to see a strong laning hero out of RRQ with their last pick. Depending upon what that is, but just like it doesn't really matter all that much as long as it's somebody that can work with Warlock to zone out that Tide.
And Tinker, the reply from RRQ. So it's a pretty good Tinker game, man. Nyx is banned. Batrider's banned. The one hero that everyone has been keeping in their pool that they like to run who's good is Storm. And Storm will now get banned. So all the natural Tinker counters, the Predators, have been removed, Gabe. And it's going to be a hell of a Tinker game. Great against 5-man, which Luna, Shadow Demon, Elder Titan, Tidehunter definitely looks like. And they've got the Warlock and the Sand King. Like, you really don't want a 5-man into RRQ, I would say. Pipe will be your best friend if you're TnC, though. That is for damn sure.
And maybe you just use the Tidehunter to try and lock down Roshan. So you try and pick a hero at the end here who can help out with Rosh. Maybe you think back to an Invoker or something for TnC, so that way you can try and secure that objective at the very least. I really like the Sven pick, again, combo together with the Warlock. I feel like that's a kill potential in that lane if Tidehunter isn't careful. And also, you know, the natural Kraken procs there as well.
And Warcry is great against Elder Titan. Its plus armor will not be removed by the natural order. So it's quite a good pick in that regard as well. And it gives them some balance, because they were very heavy on magic and pure damage up until this point. So now they have some physical as well. And TnC are not just going to buy a pipe and consider themselves effectively invincible in these fights.
No, definitely. I really like either an Invoker here or one of those other heroes that just gives you the ability to either A, go and lock down an area, secure themselves Roshan. A little bit more team fight wouldn't go amiss as far as just damage, because you have Ravage, but the follow-up outside of that is basically at this point just Eclipse, which can be shaky at best. So I kind of like the idea of more team fight, objective taking potential. It could be like as weird of a pick as a DP, but I don't know if it's really a hero anymore.
Yeah, DP is not great against Sven either, I would say. And a decent laner and someone who can do okay against Tinker. I wouldn't say amazing. Generally where you'll have a lot of kill potentials if someone else comes into the lane and you combine the sucky with the slow or stun, but they don't really have that hero, to be honest. So Mirana is the choice. This is the better synergy with Shadow Demon for sure, and it's a hero that can fight all the time, gives you more magic burst. I feel like Cuckoo is the playmaker of this game. He's the one that's going to have to get things done. Your support duo is very passive. Tidehunter's ult is more of a reactive ability, not something that you can just lob out a Ravage just to find a solo kill. Sure, in the laning stage or early game maybe, but later on I'll have to be patient with that. So it is potentially a solution to the Sven, though, as it gives them a ton of magic burst against that Warcry.
You know, I do like the pick. I think that, again, the issue that I'm going to have is how they deal with getting Roshan. If they don't have that and they're not able to, you know, secure that at various points, it could be a little bit rough. But by and large, I do like the draft, and it feels like they just want to fight him. They're daring him to come at him, and you know, you get that Aghanims up on Mirana, it's going to be a problem. Not to mention that you do have the natural synergy with the ET. We've talked about it a bunch already, but natural order, this basically just increases the nuke damage of Cuckoo tremendously. And sometimes we've even seen ETs go back for Veils to amp it up that much further. I think that could be a great item this game.
So it is a 5-hero smoke rotation. TnC going to get underway now as they move through the Radiant jungle. They have some real kill potential here. Disruption is basically an instant arrow and into a kill, barring some really bad miscommunication. But RRQ will back away, so they dodge that bullet, at least for the time being. They will retreat back to the safety of their high ground for now.
I'm curious what their stance is right now on the way that the qualifiers are going. Obviously, they're 0-4, so if there's any at all hope that they want to win, you know, they have to take this game. But you know, I can't imagine what it's like to sort of be that 0-4 position. Just, you know, a team that's been constantly there, just right on the outside edges of making it to events. Got to be a ton of pressure on these players.
Yeah, or maybe they're just used to it and they have low expectations. You know, I guess that's the other possibility.
Well, two sides of the same coin probably. Is losing it. It's tough. I remember when I was, you know, playing in younger league sports stuff that I heard so many times, "Good idea, Gabe. That was a really good idea right there." The, you know, ball movement, and it's like, oh no.
Or you know what the worst one is the most improved player award.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah, good job. You're not as shit as you used to be. Always want that MVP, you know, most valuable, not most improved. But I got most improved player one year. I was actually like above average at soccer camp, you know.
Yeah.
But I was definitely not the best player. And even at the time, I realized that MVP and MIP are not the same.
As long as everybody doesn't get MIP, then you got something special there. That's when it really is.
Well,
bad.
not everyone can be the most improved. Like,
No, definitely.
if you go from 1K to 4K, that's more improvement than from 4 to 5 in theory, right?
No, definitely. Well, Sam H taking a bit of a beating up here, and might be in a little bit of trouble. They had another burrow strike, but don't want to try and dive under tower. This is a lane that actually kind of sucks. I like what RRQ did with their laning setup. Just going to try and bully out that Sand King and then go aggro down bottom. Well, respond to the aggro down bottom.
Yeah, they will try, at least, as RRQ going to hang back in the tri lane. So it is a duel on try for now with Teehee rotating, and that is not great for Luna. Like, that said, this isn't the most synergistic lane. Sven Ogre to melee bruisers. The Fatal Bonds, there's not a whole lot of AoE damage to like fully take advantage of it, but it's still Luna's pretty weak as a hero. So if Shadow Demon never gets out of position, they could be in trouble. And he actually skilled Poison, so they could potentially try to make a move as soon as they hit level 2 in the tri lane.
You know, another little dynamic up here is we do see the burrow strike over onto Sam H, and I don't think that anybody dies here. Yeah, they should.
Uh-oh, it's a man fight. They have another burrow available, but in comes the Elder Titan. He will have to get away.
Good decision to back out of. That was a little bit tenuous, but they escape. But the thing I was going to mention is that the supports for TnC, it's recently been Teehee moving over to the support role. He's playing the ET this time. He previously played mid. And I think that in these aggressive lane situations, just that basic understanding of creep pulls, of, you know, the constant did it a million times is the most important thing. And it does look like they've decided to back out as taking control of this camp. RRQ is going to be able to consistently deny out that experience.
A laser love tap onto Cuckoo, but as you would expect, Tinker having a good time in the 1v1. Very difficult to outlast to the Tinker with the laser. But that said, Mirana's still holding her own. She's got ways to farm through magic damage from the Starfall, so not over, and even the arrow. So not overly reliant on just right-click last hits. So yeah, mid lane, a slight win for Tinker. Bottom lane going quite well for Sven. And the Sand King getting his levels on farm. So I think RRQ very happy overall with the laning stage. You compare that to TnC, the big thing that they're really lacking is, like, what do they do with this Luna? She's made the rotation to top. Now off to the jungle goes Sam H, but this means they will fall behind in terms of the levels and overall team experience. So RRQ are winning the lanes for now.
Yeah, and it's looking a little bit chaotic again between these two supports. Cast moves in, tries to get the disruption onto the Tinker in the mid lane as Teehee is set up as well, and neither of them really coordinate super well together, and they just back up and walk away, and so they don't find that. Now you have the, you know, Ogre into the mid lane who could try and help out a little bit against the Mirana. They're not really finding a ton with these support rotations, and that was always going to be a bit of an issue. I would be incredibly happy if I'm RRQ right now, and the biggest thing about this is that it's giving time for Sven to get what he needs. They can pull this creep camp through, and after it clears, maybe even think about trying to pressure the tower. I don't know. It's looking really good for them.
Yeah, it gives time to the Sven. It even gives time to the Tinker as, oh, well, I think we jinxed him. The jinx is pretty strong, and it is strong enough. Cast jams it in for a first blood. So the TnC really did need. The lanes were being kind of lost passively, I would say, just because of the experience factor, even though they're CSing similarly well, a bit worse, but not too far behind. So that does equalize things quite a bit, and keeps it about an even game as opposed to like a nearly 1,000 gold lead to start it off.
Yeah, it helps out a lot, but also doesn't completely change the status quo as Sam H is going to get pushed back again here. And you take a look at the levels. I'm curious how it's going to go because Sand King almost having level 6. I don't think he's going to be able to build into an incredibly quick blink, but if he gets it at a decent time, there's going to be a good window there where maybe he can even finish it before Tidehunter has enough for his mechanism, and they can start fighting around that.
Sam H still lurking on that bottom lane, but you can already see the beefy Ogre just clubbing Teehee. Get the hell out of my jungle. And he will, at least for now.
Oh.
But the rotation does come up top. Disruption. Not a whole lot of follow-up. That's already a level 5 Sand King. Difficult to deal with. And Cuckoo will just calmly leap away. So a lot of musical lanes here. Both teams bouncing around, but nobody finding the kills after that initial first blood.
Yeah, it's been very quiet, and I still do think that, you know, after TnC getting that kill, it helps them out a lot. Is again, bullying the Luna up here. Needs to be a little bit careful, but does have 6 wand charges as well as a Tango, so he's going to passively regen up through this. They cancel the Stomp. I think he should be able to get out of that and maybe even can... Yeah, just he needs to back out. All right, that's fine.
They did force him to take a point in Sandstorm, which is a small victory for TnC, but at the same time, that also may force the supports to buy detection, which in turn is a slight win for RRQ. So nothing really lost there. They are slowing down the Sand King now. They're getting their farm on Luna. And of course, Tidehunter still doing pretty well here, level 6, and CSing decently. So all in all, the game is stabilized. I'd call it a very even game for now. And I think the real question is going to be who makes the most effective moves here over the next 5 to 10 minutes. I don't feel like either team is like oh, if they win the lanes, they just win the game. I don't think either team just wins off of like a tied laning stage. They both have strong late game. They both have good team fight and pick-off potential. For RQ, they're really waiting on the Sand King Blink. That's going to be the #1 thing, along with the Warlock ulti, for them to take fights and just buying time for the Tinker BOTs. And for TnC, it's basically just the support movements and when they choose to flex the Ravage. You know, they're already ready to go in that department. So curious to see if they do make that move soon.
And down here inside, they might realize that the Ogre was warding. I'm sure that they might not have spotted him. They do ping it out now, and this is going to signal that there's a ward up on the high ground. But they block out the Ancients. Really good stuff coming in there. And it looks like this is, again, given complete and total free reign up in the top lane for Sand King to farm and continue to kind of bully this Luna around. The movement in, smoke gank, trying to find somebody. Ogre will probably break it, and the disruption, he's pretty tanky. I don't know if they have enough to bring him down. Ravage also, no mana for it currently. All right, he has enough now, but they're not going to pop it. They do finally, only connects onto the Ogre.
Damn!
What?
That was some commitment for the Ogre. Yeah, I mean, you better at least get 1 kill out of a 4-hero rotation like that, so can kind of understand the logic with the Ravage, but you didn't kill the Tinker, you didn't kill the Sven, you didn't slow down the Sand King. RRQ are, frankly, very happy with that. Yeah,
that I would be completely happy, and now might even be able to kill off Cuckoo. They're coming in right now with the Tinker, and he shoots out the laser. He had a haste rune just a little while ago, but it does look like it wore off. So
only a level 1 heat-seeking missile, though, so it doesn't really offer all that much damage.
If he got into range with the laser, that would have been the money rune, but doesn't quite get it, and it looks like they are going to be able to pick up a regen as well for Cuckoo. So happy, 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 and it looks like bottom lane is where the pressure is going to be felt now. The heroes grouped up.
So that was the first movement. It was not the movement that TnC were looking for. And you can see RRQ, like where previously they would have been very hesitant to 5-man or group up and push a tower. Now they have no fear. God Strength activated, can start to throw the Bloodlust on the Sven, and they'll just take the tier 1. There's really no contesting this for TnC. At least not into a head-on fight, but they're going to try to stall here a bit, just with the Stomp, the occasional Anchor Smash. It may cost the Tidehunter his life, though. He gets multicast, or not multicast, Fire Blast. And then goes down a very well-placed and timed Stormbolt from Kel'Thuzad. Not to be confused with Thuzad, as he will hit the creep as the disruption was ending. Cool play there.
Yeah, that was really nicely done. And again, individual skill, it's, you know, it's high in the Southeast Asian region. The big issue has always been that coordination, team fights, and drafting. And so far, RRQ have been looking really impressive. I'm liking what we're seeing. They just need to try and, like we were talking about, get that blink online for the Sand King. He's gone into the jungle now after taking down that initial tower. And, you know, he's going to be able to start building into a couple more of these middle-tier items while they get the Boots of Travel up and online for the Tinker. And if these keep on farming at this rate, like, it's looking really good for them. TnC need to do something about this.
They really can't until Ravage is back up. About 10 minutes, 10 seconds, 10 minutes, jeez, that would be terrible. About 10 seconds to go, and then it'll be online. So, may look for that next move soon, but I think where I'm a little worried for TnC, we're 10 minutes in. He is level 3. At the very least, your Elder Titan should be like level 5 right now, I would say, in a normal game. So, support levels on him, even on cast, only level 4. This is a big concern, and you know, on the other side, you've got an Ogre who's already level 4.5. He really doesn't need levels as badly, and more importantly, the Warlock has the Rock. He is 6. This is the answer to Tidehunter, so I think RRQ they're in prime position here to start taking fights. BOTs, once that's out, and once they have the Blink on the Sand King, it's going to be go, go, go.
Yeah. Well, and they're going to buy that book right now, so this is going to boost the ET up to just under level 5, which can start to help them make those movements around the map and finding kills. You can get in points into his natural order, and then you really start dealing some damage, particularly if you bring in the Luna and you make some Eclipse plays happen. But the question is, where are they going to try and find it? Because maybe you move into the jungle and try and see if you can find the Tinker, but that's even a little bit scary. The ward game from RRQ has been really good. They keep eyes on here over on these Ancients, and they've also been able to block out the movement in towards their jungle through the river. So all in all, they got their bases covered.
Yeah, Sentry does actually have the range to scout out that observer, but Sven will grab the tower bottom. Haven't gone to look at that hill, I suppose. Yeah, Cass kind of hanging out in the neighborhood. And he was scouted as they used the Moonlight Shadow to initiate. This could really backfire, Gabe. RRQ know what's coming.
Oh, arrow. They get connected to the Sven. Well, that's fine. He can just keep on moving.
He really is more of a Thuzard than a Thuzad, I gotta tell you.
What a great little sentiment that is. Well, 10 minutes, 11 minutes into it now, and it looks like still Sven on top. And they're going to continue stacking up these Ancients here. They would have loved to go and clear them. I think that's what he was even TPing over for. But as it stands, if he finishes off the stack, he's already at 1,400 gold. I mean, do you just go straight for like an Echo Saber at this, or is it worth going for like a quick Blink Dagger and start moving around the map with that?
I definitely think like Echo Saber, BKB type of build is the way to go here. BKB is fantastic against Luna and Tide. So you definitely want a BKB. Maybe your third item if you want to get like an Armlet in the mix, but I don't think there's a huge need for a Blink Dagger. You already have Sand King to initiate. You definitely don't need to rush a Blink. That said, it could work if they just want to constantly dive for kills, but Sven is your hard carry. He's all your physical damage, and I don't think there's any huge emphasis on these. There's no huge need for him to get the Blink right away.
ET sapping away some experience from this. Much needed for him is almost going to get him up to level 6, but in the meantime, Cuckoo is here as well. They're already trading a good bit of hits, and the Ravage turnaround going to connect onto 2. A ton of damage being dealt to RRQ, and they do get the Epicenter out. Not sure if it's going to be enough. They just split up, and it's only dealing damage to the Luna, who does not look like she is going to die. Oh, a pretty good Sandstorm comes out right there, though, and they might be able to bring her down. Nicely played, as again, Cuckoo will be able to get a double, but they've lost the Luna off the back of it, and might even be able to take down, well, either Cast or Sam H. Sand King getting bold.
Oh, that was a nice disruption there as Tinker was mid-rearm. It's a very long cast HP channel time on that spell, and unfortunately just nothing cooperating here is the friggin' just pesky ghost preventing TnC from chasing down the Sand King. So it ends up being a 3 for 3, but that was without the Golem getting off there. Zephyr, is that how you say his name?
I think so.
Exifer.
Warlock.
The ill-fated soul that he is. He didn't get off the ult. Really nice job there. They comboed the Ravage with the Mirana Starstorm, and then right when he was about to cast the Golem, he got slept by the Elder Titan, and then they got that last nuke off to kill him. So never gave him a chance to drop the rock. Still 3 for 3 with that, and also with Sven using the God Strength primarily just to hit Ancients, and it was before the Echo Saber, which he now has. I still really favor RRQ in this upcoming skirmish, and especially with the ults being on cooldown.
Well, and Tidehunter is over there trying to clear out these Ancients. It looks like they want to make the move over to contest them themselves, RRQ. Or they're not just going into Roche, are they? They're going to place down a ward, spot this out, and if they could steal these, this would be tremendous.
I would love to see them go for a fight here. Sentry gets planted, but Koalaman is outside of the range of that. Oh, suddenly he's back in, but backup has come. The Lumbering Oath moves forward. I'll take this one, he says, but now the Elder Titan Earth Splitter over the top, locking down the Sand King, and down he goes as the Ogre has to back away. Sand King down, fight's over, folks.
Yeah, unfortunate. And I mean,
you can see why they wanted to do it, right? Like, there's no Ravage, there's no Eclipse. Unfortunately, the choke point they were walking up into and the fact that Sand King was the one that got caught first when he's the primary initiator, that ruined what the advantage they should have had.
Definitely, and you know, the arrow coming in after the disruption, like if he gets off one burrow strike there, I think he can still go. Like, because Sven at this stage is so much stronger than any of these other heroes. You've got a lot of this gold right now for the Mirana that's invested into stuff that's only keeping her alive, but not really doing that damage. Once she gets the Aghanims, that's a huge power spike. But right now, you can take advantage of their lack of team fight when those ultis are on cooldown. And, I mean, they're trying to do just that. Tinker already almost completing his Blink Dagger. This is going to be a lot of damage coming out from these cores of RRQ.
Yeah, I mean, they would love to fight right now, but they didn't find the window. Now all the ults are up for TnC. And going for another move would be, this time, much more dangerous. So, still yet to see a Warlock ult, as we're now 16 minutes in. At this point, you know, so much for him having the much faster level 6. They didn't take advantage of it. I still feel like RRQ don't really have a timer by any means. They have a Midas now on the Warlock. They have excellent late game already, so they can bide their time here. Well, and it looks like they will.
That was the Blink Dagger reveal of the Sand King too, and with the Midas picked up on the Warlock, I mean, you have the option to fight right now, but you're not forced into it like you're saying by any means. And well, another arrow fishing in the mid lane. Cuckoo will not find it. Still around 1,500 gold away from finishing off that Aghanims. We haven't talked a ton about Fatal Bonds, but it's another one of those games where if you get that off onto 2 and Sven is cleaving, it is a tremendous amount of damage.
What happened in the AUI 2000 upheaval build? You know, I remember when AUI 2000 used to be a support player, Gabe.
Yeah?
Things have changed.
I mean, Matumba was playing support earlier today also.
And so too has the tides of those teams, and not in a particularly good way, I think. So maybe players need to stick to their roles.
That's right.
Get back in the jungle and play some wards for me.
I mean, Ali always played a little bit of the more greedy style anyways.
He was originally known for his carry play, way back in the old bottom days. He made that transition to support when the team needed him, but even when he was a support, and I'm doing air quotes right now that you guys can't see it, he was a very farm-intensive support, so it's not really a classic, like, item-independent type of player by any means. So RRQ will look to take over this top side of the map. They're going to grab the tier 1, and meanwhile TnC working on the tier 1 bottom. So a mirror trade here. Roshan is still available. Neither team that good at killing him. Sven with Bloodlust is decent. TnC are okay with the Luna Aura and the Gush minus armor, but they're definitely not great.
Well, and you can see right now, setting up, Koalaman, he has been ready to go for this in the mid lane if somebody comes and contests, but nobody's showing up for it. Like Sand King, oh, this is a neat little play. They use the siege creep to pull the creeps away from the tower. But it looks like they're going to try and move mid, and with Sand King already set up, if TnC come to defend this, this could be a really huge turnaround into the favor of RRQ even further.
Look at the wards. These aggro wards for both teams on the enemy hills. They really want to take fights with tier 1 still up mid, quite late into the game, 18 minutes already. But nobody finding that opening. The Ags is coming though, Gabe. This could be the item that completely breaks the game open. How many times have we seen that, like, 15 to 20 minute Aghanim Scepter pickup on a Mirana just utterly turn the tides? It's not so much recently, but over the last year, I can't even count the number of games won by this pickup.
It's true, but that also comes with it getting nerfed consistently, and I'm curious how much it's going to matter that another added second onto the second Starstorm that falls. I definitely agree that it's something that's going to be strong, but we also haven't seen the Warlock ulti yet, and we haven't seen that new big epicenter play.
There's a Warlock in this game?
Right? Yeah. I don't know. Weird.
So 1-1, no ultimate. They haven't had a big team fight, but I don't really feel like they need to. They could split push, they can farm Ancients. If they had lost Ancient control, or if Tinker was against a Storm, a Nyx, a Bat, one of those heroes that limits his split push, maybe they'd be under more pressure, but they're fine with this pace of the game.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
Ravage? He's gone!
What the hell was that?
All right, well, we're talking up Tinker. Sam H says, get out of my game. Ravages his face off.
That was not where he meant to blink.
Oh, no. And now, I mean, they found a couple more. Cuckoo does have an Arcane Rune on top of this. If they're able to find him, there's the jump forward, arrow, follow up, pump fakes, looks for the opening, tries to find it, cast, throws down the ulti, and just like, okay, all right, this is some Clown Town stuff that we're seeing right now, but they still take down the Ogre.
Yeah, just slowly beating him down. Kel Thuzard is like, man, I'm going to have to turn into Thuzad if I'm going to turn this one around, because my team is getting a little throwy now. 4-8 the score. Still RRQ, I think, in okay shape, but you lose that one hero bottom, the Tinker, and all of a sudden it allows them to dive, get the Ogre kill. They never would have gone for that if he was alive, and RRQ really have to be careful not to make sloppy mistakes like that, or they will lose control. That's on top of those 2 kills, Gabe, the bigger thing is they got the tier 1 mid.
Yeah.
Now they can actually contest the Ancients. You're going to see wards get planted around that area. That lack of map control, or that loss of map control, I should say, is absolutely huge when you're running the Sven.
Yeah, and they've been able to, just take over this side of the jungle as well consistently. They are going to get the D ward now, realizing that that was how they spotted out the Ogre. So it helps. It is helping, but like Moonlight Shadow now into the mid lane, they can go so deep into this, and if they are able to get the initiation onto the Warlock again, he needs to drop it immediately, stunned up and brought down.
Oh, 21 minutes in, all this man wants to do is drop the frickin' rock, and he can't.
It's a hard life.
Yeah, sloppy pickoffs repeatedly by RRQ are just completely evaporating their advantage. They worked hard for it all game. They have a great lineup to sit back and farm. And TnC aren't even that good at ganking. Like, let's be honest here. There's no Nyx, there's no Storm, there's no Batrider. Their gank is walking in and ravaging a Tinker who's blinked on top of you, or, a disruption into an arrow at 21 minutes in the game. It should be easy for RRQ. They're just playing sloppy, getting picked off, and TnC just pushing their buttons and punishing them.
Well, Sven is building towards that BKB you were talking about. He has the Blink Dagger on top of it. He is incredibly farmed. And if you just manage to get one of those Warlock ultis down, you start thinking about that fight around. I mean, Roche is going down at this point, so they're not going to be able to defend that. But, this next push that comes out, it might be the one for RRQ.
So Ryo gets his hands out on the Aegis and has a Manta to go with it. He calmly goes back to farming the Ancients. Just not really seeing RRQ execute a simple team fight. The one time they smoke, Sand King just dies. They back. Then Tinker gets picked up bottom. Ogre dies. They lose the tier 1. They back. Then Warlock dies mid-ult. They back. They haven't taken a team fight, Gabe.
Ooh,
it's 23 minutes in.
One, though.
This should be it.
Yeah, they jump forward immediately onto T. Tons of damage. Cuckoo had actually jumped forward at the same time, leaps out as they don't realize where he went to. Man, Cuckoo just juked them all this way of Sunday. That was rough.
Yeah, the Observer Ward they have, they saw him use the Blink, I think, as the Ravage comes through, connects only, actually on the Ogre as well as the Sand King. That's pretty big. Burrow strike out, but they finally get off that friggin' Warlock ultimate, and now the chase is on. Ryo on the run. Angry Sven in the house. This Nordic man wants some kills, and he's going to chase forward looking for Ryo. For Cuckoo, who's he going? The missile splash through. Ryo survives it. Cuckoo's going to look to turn. The BKB's worn off. The debut of the first Warlock ultimate, the first Sven BKB usage is mildly impressive.
Yeah, Sven was running around a lot in that fight trying to find the target and just couldn't manage to stick onto somebody. So a little bit unfortunate there, but at the end of the day, it's a one-team fight. They use the Warlock ulti, so if nothing else, we're going to aggressively ulti in your direction, find a couple kills as they are chasing down that Luna. You got to go for that one.
He probably could, because there's no tier 2 up, so there's a fairly low likelihood, but it's only an Aegis. Risking your life that deep just for an Aegis snipe, probably not worth it. I don't really think Luna Aegis is that big of a deal anyway. Her second life is not particularly scary. You generally only get that one Eclipse off, and that's really it. This is not a Storm we're talking about, or a Leshrac.
Right.
I remember when Leshrac used to be a hero. That was a while ago.
He still is an overthrow. That's the way to play it. It's funny. The one piece of media that I saw come out of the Southeast Asian region was Team Faceless and the overview of their team house. And in the interview, they talk about how hard they're training and how it's constant work. And then in the video, it just shows them playing overthrow, like the whole team together.
And they're like, yeah, if we lose, we don't eat. And then you see when they lose, and they're just having like a 10-course meal.
Yeah. Well, Sam H can end up taking a good bit of damage, but I don't want to actually go onto that Tidehunter. He's pretty scary.
That's just the like that little pebble in your shoe irritation, Just try to get under their skin any way you can. But no huge sense of urgency here for RQ. They definitely can go back to farming. They get the Crystallis on Kel'Thuzad. Still a lot of room for Tinker to grow. Looks like he's building next into the Aghanim Scepter. Generally, that's the build. Slight chance, I guess, of a Bloodstone, but it's super late to go for one. Yeah, I think RRQ still scale pretty well here. Koalamon picks up a hood. Pipe is fantastic this game against Luna, against Morana with the Ags, and to some extent against the Tidehunter Ravage as well. So I like Pipe, but at the same time, that Sand King Eggs is a huge pickup as well, and he does have a Staff of Wizardry, so could be that, could be a Force Staff instead. We'll have to see.
I really like Force Staff this game. I mean, even just little things like being able to Force Staff one of your allies, you know, away from the Luna or whoever ends up being around you. Those types of plays can be fight winning, and I think
no.
Poor Zephyr. I mean, well, Burrow Strike, turnaround. He has Chaotic Offering. They could go back.
Why did he run back out, though?
Oh.
I think he's probably dead anyway to Cuckoo cutting him off this direction, but yeah, I think you sit there and you bait, and if they try to come in after you, you drop the ult and try to turn it around. So another death for our ill-fated Warlock. 2 and 3, but it's not the deaths that matter so much as the fact that, like, he hasn't been there to get that good team fight for the squad.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's something that you got to have happen. I honestly wouldn't mind seeing them try to take this team fight right here and extend it out a little bit longer. Mirana is down in the bottom lane, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to take that chase. And Teehee is off to the side anyways for the counter initiation. But it might have been a moment where if Warlock comes in like right at the end of the fight or something, it could have ended up working.
Qualamon trying to stall here. Remember, RRQ do a fantastic counter push, especially once they get the Ags as a really good tool to deal with those illusions and that constant chip siege from the Shadow Demon from the Manta. So there won't be a tower grab. And Yabyu, or Yabyo I should say, just goes right back to push out the bottom lane.
He's pretty happy right now. I mean, despite that one death that happened against the Tidehunter, I think I saw him, he like canceled his animation for the rearm, and that's why he ended up going down there. But he should probably be playing safer after that little bit of a misstep, and it's still a great Tinker game. I mean, he is going to be going the Ags route. I wouldn't mind seeing like a late game Sheepstick picked up if that's another way that he wanted to go back for it. Oftentimes it's just the Dagon, but that level of control could also be great in this one. So we'll see how they decide to play it, but for now at least it looks like, is this going to be a Lotus Orb on Cuckoo? What is he building into?
Lincoln's probably.
Lincoln's?
Yeah.
He has an energy booster.
Well, that was from the Arcanes he had
right,
earlier, which he disassembled, so probably we'll just get rid of it at some point. I think most likely we'll just see the Lincoln's build. Great against the Sand Cane and the Sven is like the two reliable forms of catch on this team. And it just seems like the game's evolving into a split push game, and the more defensive items you have on Mirana, or like a similar hero like a Morphling, the more aggressive you can be with your split push. So I think it's a pretty standard pickup in this type of game.
You know, barring RRQ just really getting out of position and constantly getting picked off, I think they should win this game from this point.
Which has been kind of the story of the last 15 minutes. But like,
I don't see how TnC push high ground into Tinker with Ags and then also having Golems from Warlock. Like, they're going to have to commit so much to actually do it, and then there's a good chance at a counterplay. So I think if RRQ play this right, they should just win out in the end, and it's looking like it could be a big engagement down here bottom.
I think the short answer is they do it very carefully and very slowly. In the trees, Elder Titan lurking. That smoke will break. Sam H, the one that ended up interrupted, but Teehee just walks right out into a Burrow Strike. That'll be a huge pick to start the fight. Quick decapitation from the Sven with the Echo Saber, and TnC trucking it back.
Yeah, well, that is going to be Ogre running into Sam H and gets the Fire Blast off as well. They get the Ignite. They're looking like they might opt to chase this further. Luna's in the area. Burrow
really want to go for this.
Well, Epicenter turn around with the Ravage, but still you do have the Tinker who's going to deal a lot of damage on the other side of this. That is going to be the Sand King running away, and it looks like they are going to just back out as Cuckoo chases down Yabu, and he is going to fall. Oh, that was a bit of a misplay.
I'm pretty surprised they went uphill into the Tidehunter of all heroes. Nice 2-hero stun from the Sand King, but then, you know, what happens after that? He's going to Greaves. He'll get off the Ravage, and they didn't have the whole 5-man squad in position. And then on top of that, Tinker, desperate to help out, he TP's mid, but in a 1v1, Tinker is not going to be able to deal with the Mirana at close range. So for RRQ, they're much stronger when they're united as a 5-man squad, and I think in most team fights they should prevail. But Ogre, you have a Warlock. This is the fulcrum of your team fight, and he's just a slow, clunky hero. He can't keep up with all these Blink Daggers, these heroes, you know, Burrow striking in and charging forward, TPing all around the map in the case of a Tinker. if they're going to rely on him for his team fight, then they have to give him a chance to get involved, and just getting a bit impatient and overeager here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and he does have the Ags now, so still does not solve that problem of the mobility. You kind of wonder if it might have been worth it to go for something like a Force Staff for himself first, but if he manages to get the good golems out now, it could kind of solve all of the previous problems that were happening for this Warlock, but doesn't look like TnC want to give him that option. He's back out again and going to return to farming.
This could be a long one. You know, everyone says that everyone sees Naga and just starts snoozing, but Tinker versus Mirana with Ags, both BOTs now. The Blink is up on Mirana along with the Lincolns. These guys are going to be fair. And there's really not that many great hunters for the split push. Sand King's probably the best one in the game. I would not put him on the level of a Storm. It could be a long one. We'll see, though.
Absolutely. Well, the spam of the rockets is difficult to deal with, and man, look at those illusions. Bring down Ogre, tanky hero himself, to about a third HP, and well, the square off for the next Roche is definitely going to be that next big fighting point that we find.
Oh, Kel'Thuzad continues to keep up with the Mirana. Despite not really keeping up in the kill department, he does have the CS advantage here. And he completes a Daedalus now. So damage is really not RRQ's problems. Their big issue is just being able to stay grouped up and focus a hero down in fights, because Mirana's quite elusive. You've got great defensive counterplay from Ravage, from Greaves, from Disruption, and the Stomp. So I'd say like 4 pretty important tools to reset fights. And RRQ don't have the best gap closing, just the Blink Dagger on the Sand King, but you need the rest of the team to be able to keep up.
No, definitely. And I think that they have, again, like going back for that Midas is a huge good decision from the Warlock. Like, you need to be able to scale better with this hero. Maybe Ogre is going to be the one that ends up falling back and behind because of it. He's only at 1,500 net worth at 32 minutes into the game. Man, it has been a hard one for him. I would love to see them get some more farm on that hero, because he's somebody who also can really make a lot happen.
Ogre's not getting more farm this game, Gabe. You're dreaming here, buddy.
Oh, poor Ogre.
Smoke it, but again, they try to walk up the cliff without vision. They're going to go for the burrow initiation. Last time they did this, it was real ugly. Will they go for it again? Sven engages. He's got the BKB. He can just commit onto the Tide, force him back, try to bring him down, but the Purge will prevent the kill, and so instead he turns on a Cuckoo, who is also able to slow him down and back away. Now the BKB is expended. The turnaround's about to come. Eclipse is at the ready, and Kel'Thuzad is going to sacrifice that lumbering oaf. He will fall. Arrow has a fish, and it will not hit the Sven. Blinks away. They just keep on going for the smoke gank up the hill. This time didn't even have well, last time they had a ward here. They don't even have that. And they keep on going on Tidehunter. He didn't even Ravage this time, but they have great defensive abilities on TnC, sure, but I think RRQ are just forcing it way too much.
And again, we've talked about it. I do think their late game lineup is quite strong, but we'll see how it goes. This movement in and taking out Roshan for TnC is really great. I still think that if you wanted to come and contest, you at least need to get something here for RRQ. If the lanes need to be pushed out more, maybe you try and assault the tier 3 tower. That might be one of the ways to make it happen, as the gem gets picked up by the Warlock as well. But it might be a little bit difficult for them to hold high ground with Aegis up on this Luna as well.
Yeah, and she's got a Scotty now, so her illusions are getting a lot tankier and more difficult to bring down in fights. Tinker's pretty damn good at killing off the illusions with the Ags, but even just a little chip here or there, like, you can just keep on sieging. It's slow work, but it will result in damage on structures, and that's assuming the Tinker doesn't get killed off, as there's now an E-Blade on Mirana, so a shotgun into a Blink multi-Starstorm combo could very easily just send him reeling back to the well, and looking at buybacks just in case something like that happens. He does have it, so does the Sven, but it's really easy for Mirana to get kills compared to RRQ, who have been struggling to finish anyone off, really.
You know, this would be really the best game, I think, for Tinker to get a sheep stick. Clearing out illusions with that feels like it's really strong, and the Aether Lens, the added range onto it, we already talked about him being able to deal with the illusions pretty well, but if he doesn't kill them in those first initial blasts of the laser, they will get some of that chip damage out like you talked about, and I feel like the answer is really in the sheep stick, just for that instant kill, but still a long ways away from it. That is one problem. Tinker almost 4,000 gold behind the Luna. He's after those couple of kills, been really hurting for the farm.
And here we go. TnC just going to strut up and start flexing outside the RRQ base. There is a tier 2 still in the top lane. Ryo will bring that tier 2 down mid. And they will commence the siege from the looks of things. No, they have a second thought.
Oh.
Decide to back off.
The arrow connected onto Warlock, but they're not comfortable going
they're not diving that far. This is not the Faceless game, Gabe. Yeah, for those who missed the last game, Faceless twice jabbed Song on the Dire side from like around this area and just ran into the Radiant base, and then Ice got a 2/3 hero stun both times and just blew up their whole team, as Dire, mind you. So that was a game where the tower diving was coming out in force, but this one doesn't seem like TnC have that level of confidence.
Yeah, they want to play it safe. They're good with that. I like the Tidehunter now. He's going back for the pipe. Are they going to find the Tinker again? Oh my god.
Well, at least he didn't blink into Sam H this time.
Jeez.
He's learning, Gabe. He's learning.
The process of learning is occurring. They're going to just run down another lane, though, and well, it looks like RRQ actually want to make this happen, but they get the arrow onto the Sven, just blind, and now popping the Ravage Form as well. Do they find the kill? Eclipse comes out, the turnaround golems are there as well, but it's not going to be enough damage. They've already lost the Sven, and they lost both golems.
Well, he got the ult off this time.
Oh, no.
This is problematic. Sven is huge in the team fights. Ravage was committed, though, along with Eclipse, so it's not the peak of TnC's ability to take fights right now, but at the same time, like you pointed out, Warlock ult is also down. I think you definitely siege here with the Aegis. We'll see how hard they want to commit, though. Blink Gush, then a follow-up shotgun, and sayonara, Tinka.
Oh my god, the Earth Splitter comes out as well as the BKB. They're not going down at this point. They take down the Ochre again, and it looks like they're just going to turn their attention onto this tier 3 tower. The laser does start to deal some damage, and the burrow strike through as well.
Back on Tinker, but he just got slept. Is the shotgun going to be available for Cuckoo? He just got it up. Laser with the Ethereal Blade. He has an arrow. Is he going to hit it? Drills him, and that's a dieback on the Tinker. That might just be a full lane of Rax, if not the game.
Oh my goodness, that was so unfortunate. And now tier 3 going down. I mean, you do have this buyback on the Sven. He didn't commit it when the Tinker did. Like, if you're going to go for one, you really have to go for both and really try and, you know, shut down this push. As it stands now,
that was all set up by Teehee. He got a stomp sleep on the Tinker. And this is a guy who was level 3 at 10 minutes. He had a horrible laning stage, but man, has he made a comeback here down the stretch or what?
It's been really impressive to watch. And again, a guy who only switched over to playing support a couple of months ago. Really impressive stuff. The Epicenter coming out. And
well, they got the illusions.
That was not the dream.
Almost. Kill those things. There's the Stormbolt. And back to the well.
Well, the tier 3 gone. The barracks going to fall as well. And looks like they're going to turn their attention to this bottom lane. What was looking good once for RRQ has completely fallen apart in the past couple of minutes to the tune of a 16,000 net worth lead and soon to be another lane.
Yeah, do they continue to stick around? The Warlock ulti 40 seconds off. Ravage up in 20. There will be a 20-second power play for TnC as far as the big wombo combo ultimates go. Pipe now committed. They'll bring down the wave, and they'll start caving in the structures. The melee barracks dropping. About third HP missing now. Siege continues. There's the bouncing laser, but the illusions are going to resume their damage momentarily. Another round of lasers, but then the Eclipse, BKB, charge on in from Ryo, and the glaive started bouncing, so Yabu can't easily move away. Now the Ravage comes through. Zephyr, though, does manage to sidestep it, backs out to the well. He's going to have his ultimate suit. The chase forward the other direction. Good defensive disruption, though. And the purge onto Kel through Zard, who is completely unable to hit heroes in this fight until this golem, but it's not going to matter, Gabe. 4 down. Could be 5 if they want to dive the Warlock into the well. The GGs come out, and TnC keep RRQ in the dumpster. They have yet to take a game in the group stage.
God, that is a rough one. And it was looking so good for so long for RRQ. They were staying with them. They had all the ultis that they needed. And at the end of the day, just a couple pickoffs, and then that Sven, like, they lose the Sven in an instant. And they don't buy back on him at any point. Like, if you're going to lose a lane of barracks, maybe you buy back on the Sven at that stage and you don't, like, you even just scare him off. I don't get how one Sven pickoff turns into losing the game instantly.
It didn't feel like that was the story of the game, though. Like, there were so many cases where they give up, like, the one Tinker blinks into Tidehunter just dies. Then suddenly Ogre's dead, then your tier 1's down mid, then they lose Ancient control, then they try to go smoke towards Roshan, and Sand King gets picked off, and then they lose one more hero on the way out, and then Warlock gets picked off mid, and then that leads to another Roshan. Like, it was just all these little mistakes that resulted in bigger and bigger either, gap closing from TnC or even just pulling farther ahead to the lead, and it just got to a point where RRQ just seemed completely flustered, and I think their lineup was I think the draft was totally fine. I think the execution was just completely lacking, and they could have had a better laning stage, but more importantly, they really should have had a better mid game there.
Absolutely. Well, TnC now, still a little bit of life and hope left in them as they are going to move now to 2-2, well within ability to make it through to those playoffs. But
who have they lost to so far? They lost to, I believe, there's that Faceless, and
they've lost to Faceless and Mineski. So
they've lost to two of the top teams, which means they have a relatively easy schedule. Fnatic and Warriors Gaming still to play. Let's say they take one of those games. Then they've got, the likes of, Trust, Dragoon, Mongols to remaining on the schedule, a couple of those teams. If they can win, 2 out of 3 of those and one of those 2 tougher teams, I think they're in pretty good position to make it to the playoffs.
I would completely agree. We're going to have to see if that is indeed what's going to happen. All of those questions will be answered today, the second day of the Southeast Asian playoffs, or qualifiers, I should say. Stick around. More to come in just a little bit. Again, Lyrical and LD. See y'all in a bit.